For too long now, I've been promising you an update on the Fluval Evo 13.5. It's a really nice little tank and I'm really enjoying it, but I have had a couple of setbacks, so today I'm going to tell you everything that's happened, both good and bad, and it starts right now. Right, so the tank is now about 2 months old, and this is exactly how it looks all the time. So you might be able to see some kind of smattering of algae on the glass. I haven't cleaned the glass ever actually since I've set it up, and I haven't done anything for this video to make it look nicer than it actually is. This is exactly how it looks, and I wanted to give you guys kind of the true picture. You can see kind of a smattering of diatoms around the sand bed, but even then it's looking pretty good. And that's the first thing to say, is that this was rock from what they called RR Aquascapes, completely man-made rock, and it's looking great. I wondered if it might leach phosphates and get a ton of hair algae on it or something, but it's been pretty solid. So far so good, and that's 2 months in. I would have expected it to get that out of its system by now, if that was going to happen. It might be because the light is sitting at about 20% now, 25%, and until recently it was 15%. So it might be because I'm not giving it much light. But anyway, all is good on that front. However, things did not start well with this tank, unfortunately. So let's tell you about the bad stuff. So I first added a royal grammer. That was the first fish I got. And he's not in the tank anymore. He died. So these are fantastic. The little sea chem alerts, they're so useful. I mean, ammonia alerts. They mean you don't have to check, go in and manually test ammonia all the time. And I noticed that I had a small ammonia spike. It was only onto the left-hand side, so 0.05 parts per million. And this disc says that is the alert level, not the alarm level. But nonetheless, that was more than I wanted. I wanted it to be complete zero. And so I did a few large water changes, but unfortunately the royal grammer died. I'd already by that point added, to be fair, I don't know if it was the ammonia that killed him. I'm pretty certain it was, but you never know. It might just have been stress. But I also have another fish in there, a goby, a Dracula goby. I'm trying to think if I can see him now. No, he's hiding. I've only ever seen him 2 or 3 times. I keep thinking he must be dead, but then he pops his head up, and I'll run some B-roll footage of a time, and I did manage to catch him. I see the pistol shrimp all the time actually, and these two, the shrimp and the goby, don't seem to have paired up very well. They hang around in the same caves, but they don't hang around right next to each other all the time like pistol shrimp and gobies normally do. But anyway, he's absolutely fine. The royal grammer did not make it. And what I realised was that was a cycling error. So what I normally do with cycling tanks is I'm fine putting man-made rock in, there's no problem. And I'm fine using bottled bacteria, but I normally add a piece of established live rock, either from my local fish shop or from one of my tanks. And I don't know why, but I didn't do that on this tank. And that's probably what meant that I had an ammonia spike. It's just a nice backup to introduce a piece of rock that already has the beneficial bacteria in there. So you don't need to worry if the bacteria in a bottle doesn't take hold immediately. But I didn't do that for some reason, and I regretted it. Actually, I went, and since you can see at the back, you might be able to see at the back up there, and also there's a piece here. I did put a couple of bits of live rock in after that. That then brought the ammonia down, and everything has been absolutely fine since then. So actually, I should have done that right from the word go. And that hasn't introduced any pests from what I can see. There's a bit of straggly algae off this green star polyp coral, but that's it. I haven't seen any other aptasia or anything, so it's all good. However, I say it's all good. I then added, after I got everything sorted and got my ammonia down and my live rock in, I then added some cleanup crewing. You can see there's a snail up there, there's a snail over here, there's a couple more around. I think I put 5 or 6 trocher snails in, which is quite a lot, but apparently they're doing a good job of keeping everything at bay. I also chucked in a load of copepods at the start as well, and a little bit of live rock enhance, which I'll put up on the screen so you can see what that is, to try and kickstart the cycle and the establishing bacteria process. So I put a ton of those guys in, and they've all been absolutely fine. But I then bought a second royal grammer, and that died as well. Now, I've had no ammonia whatsoever, so either this isn't as accurate as I might want it to be, or that one died of stress. The royal grammars I got were both quite small, so I do wonder if that was what did it, and actually they were too small and just, I don't know, not very healthy or a bit too susceptible for stress. It was probably ammonia, to be fair, even though there was no reading. So that was a shame. And what I've done now, part of the reason I went for royal grammars, well, they were really cool fish anyway, really bright and colourful, but I didn't want clownfish. what I've realised now is I'm going to get clownfish for two reasons actually. So this is the cave down here is where my shrimp goby lives. And what I find is that he's always, when I had him and the Royal Grammars in there, he was always in his cave out of the way. And the Royal Grammer hid in the cave as well out of the way. Whereas if I get clownfish, they will always be out and about and they will have kind of the dither fish effect, I'm hoping. So they might make the rest of the fish feel a bit more at ease. I'm only likely to have, I'll get a pair of clownfish, I'll keep my goby in there. I might get one more fish. I'll try to resist because I think 3 fish is probably the limit for this tank, to be fair. The other benefit of clownfish is that they're hardy and so they're more resistant to swings in parameters, particularly ammonia, which is great for a new tank. That shouldn't be a problem anymore because I think that's all settled, but nonetheless it's a nice bonus. And to be honest, I just want clowns after all, so I'm going to get a couple of clowns in a week or so's time. In terms of corals, so I mentioned the green star polyp. This I added, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks in. I just wanted to see how it would get on. I wasn't sure it would do particularly well, but actually it's doing absolutely fine. I'll need to find an island to isolate it because I don't want it to take over my rockscape, but it's doing really well. There were a couple of times when the polyps retracted for a couple of days and you could just see the purple mat, but I just left it and it came back out on its own. So the water parameters are presumably pretty decent. I haven't started doing water changes yet, but I will do so soon, probably in a week or so's time. And because the GSP is looking really good and actually looking quite healthy, I'll probably start to introduce more corals, maybe some LPS corals again in the coming weeks. But I am quite keen to take this slowly where possible, so I'll just see how it goes. In terms of livestock, that's pretty much everything. You're up to speed. It's not quite going to plan because of the Royal Grammars, sorry guys. But apart from that, actually, this is about as good as I could have hoped for. There's no massive outbreaks of algae. The water, the rock and the sand looks really clear. The water does have kind of a yellow tint. You can't see it at the moment because of the camera. It does have a tiny yellow tint, so I'll need to put some activated carbon in, but it's fine. It's doing really good, and I'm really happy with it. In terms of equipment, let me just tell you about the things I'm happy with and things I'm not that happy with. The light, first off. The AI Prime HD. I'm not that taken by it. The app I find really clunky and it's a little bit awkward to program the timer compared to what I'm used to. And the colour, it's not fantastic. I probably just need to dial it in so it suits my eye a bit better. However, it's perfectly decent and it will do the job, and it does make the coral, my only coral, glow nice and blue in the evening. So it's okay, but I'm not as blown away with it as I thought I might be. Elsewhere in terms of equipment then, I have a powerhead, a Jekod SOW4, I think, which is doing a really good job. It keeps you can see the coral moving nicely, so there's a decent amount of flow in there. I might need to end up getting another one because it doesn't have an absolute ton of flow, but I think for kind of LPS and softies, that's probably going to be enough. So I'm fine with that. The final piece of kit, I've got a Tunzi Auto top off. That just works. It doesn't really, I don't really have much to tell you about it. It just works. It's the Tunzi Osmolator Nano, and so that's absolutely fine. The final piece of kit, though, I will tell you about is my return pump. This is a TMC Reef compact Reef something. I'll put it on the screen. It's a 500 litre per hour unit. It is absolutely fantastic. The Jekod is really quiet. Never hear it. It's completely silent. And the return pump is exactly the same. So I'm really happy with that. I'm only running at 30% intensity, so that's what, 100 litres per hour after head height. Nothing in terms of turnover, but that's absolutely fine. It's all I need, and it's doing a really good job. So there you go. You are now up to speed with how the tank is going. 2 months in, no major algae outbreaks, a couple of tiny patches of diatoms, but that's about it. And the snails are doing a good job of pulling back the diatoms. Actually, one last thing, I did have a small patch of cyanobacteria about 1 inch across up here. It just burnt itself off after a week or two. I didn't do anything to deal with it. Apart from that, it's doing really well, and we'll see what happens when I turn the light up a little bit, if I suddenly get an algae outbreak, and as I start to feed more, as I start to add more fish and put the clownfish in. But so far so good, with the exception of the Royal Grammars, sorry fellas, and I'm pretty happy with it. It looks really good, the tank is really nice, and I'm pretty confident it's going to be low maintenance. If I've missed anything, then let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to see more updates on this, I will keep you updated right here on the Reef Talk Extra channel. So make sure you subscribe for that. And as always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.